Welcome to Day Text with Greg Stafford. We meet every morning during the weekdays to consider a portion of the Bible or related records so that we can share them together and benefit and bring our knowledge and understanding to the world. And today we're going through the book of Colossians. We're in chapter 2. I did a little review earlier, but I didn't have the sound correctly, so I get to do it again. And that's no problem because we'll be able to reinforce more of what we were talking about. So I'm going to get right to it. I'm a little casual today. I had a lot to do around the house. These are fairly casual morning shows where we meet with people. And glad to hear it, Sam. And I didn't know I had the sound off earlier, so people told me, and I had to restart. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to read today's text from Colossians chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, and then we'll make our application and get on with the rest of our day. So in Colossians 2, starting in verse 1, Paul writes, "Indeed, I want you to know what a hard fight I have for you, for those in Laodicea, and for any who have not seen my face in person. This struggle is so I may reach their hearts, as they were joined together in love, and for the purpose of every rich blessing belonging to the certainty of understanding, in order to clearly know the secret of God concerning Christ. In him all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are kept safe. I say this so none of you may be deceived by arguments which appear convincing." Now today we have a situation similar to what Paul is describing and went through, in that people make arguments for a variety of subjects that appear convincing, but they're not. They're not based on the best available reasons, or they have assumptions built into them. For example, if you look at some of the recent comment discussion on my YouTube channel, you can see that there are various persons who will take issue with almost anything. There are some who are so committed to debating and arguing, they'll even take their time to do it with someone who doesn't believe in the view that they're taking issue with. I had this happen the other day where someone in our YouTube comments took issue with the view of the Holy Spirit, or at least tried to condemn everyone who accepts the Holy Spirit as part of the Trinity, the one God, three persons. And so certain people who do not accept the Trinity are very opposed to it, and they'll argue every opportunity they get. That's not the kind of fight that Paul's talking about here. That's not the kind of struggle he's referring to. In fact, regularly we're told to avoid debating and disputes. That doesn't mean we never do it, but when you reach a point where someone is so punch drunk, so enamored with debate, that they want to argue with you even if you don't believe the view they want to argue against. That's what happened in some of my comments. I couldn't believe it. But they're so tied to this view, this idea of debate. It's their whole ministry. You take away the Trinity for some non-Trinitarians, they wouldn't be Christian. I don't think they'd be Christian. I think if you took away the one thing they appear to hate more than anything, the Trinity, I don't think they'd serve God at all. I think that would end their service, because that's all they do. That's all they want to talk about and fight about. They don't want to fight for people to reach their hearts. And the one person I'm talking about sent me an article email, the title of which demonized every single person who had the opposite view. Right in the title. You didn't even have to get to the first sentence to know where this person was coming from. So that's not the kind of fighting we should be involved with. That will sap your strength, soak up your time, and depress your spirit. So as you can see with me, I give people a little time. You don't know, obviously, if we're dealing with a person who's punch drunk with debate, or if they're a person genuinely searching and they're distressed, they have a genuine question. That's different. We're here for those people. But we should be struggling to reach their hearts, like Paul says in verse 2, so that they're joined together in love, and for the purpose of every rich blessing belonging to the certainty of understanding. Does it seem like that's what some people are trying to do in the comments? To bring people together in love and for the purpose of rich blessing with a certainty of understanding? Does it seem like they have a certainty of understanding when it comes to the Holy Spirit? The thing they're arguing the most about appears to be the least defined being or spirit thing in the Bible in terms of exactly what it is. We have indications that it's a person. We have indications that it's God's own spirit and that it's personalized. So we allow for each view to be cultivated among Christian witnesses of Jah without dividing over it. We leave it to each person because we see both views expressed in the text, that the Holy Spirit could be a part of God's Spirit or a personal being alongside God and Jesus and with a special role. So when people want to argue with you over about something like that, you have to ask yourself, are you going to achieve a certainty of understanding, like Paul says in verse 2? If you're not, then that's probably a good sign that you're wasting your time. If the person just wants to fight and argue with you and not cultivate love and bring about a rich blessing with certainty of understanding, you should move on, because they're going to soak up your time, they're going to soak up your spirit, and they're not going to care about it afterward. They're just going to move on to the next person and try to confuse them with a view they can't even define properly in the scriptures. And if you have a view that allows for other views because certain things aren't fully defined, they're going to attack you for that too. You see, their whole ministry is based on attacking for the wrong reason. They're not fighting or struggling to reach people's hearts. They're fighting and struggling because of their own insecurities about their beliefs, or because they don't care about anything else except arguing and debating about what they believe is true, even if it's with somebody like me who doesn't believe the view they're taking issue with. So I made a mistake in that regard. I shouldn't have even given the person a second of my time. But you never know who you're dealing with and what they're going to send you. But once you get something that's clearly over the top or is low level quality and attacking other people when they're supposed to be reaching people's hearts, that's not the kind of person that you need to try to reach. They're deceived. And that's why Paul says in verse 4, I say this so none of you may be deceived by arguments which appear convincing. There's all kinds of arguments which appear convincing, but they're not. They're not well based, or they are assuming things which they have yet to prove, and so their argument is based on facts they have yet to establish. And so you have to attack those facts and force them to establish it if it's something that you feel you need to struggle over. My recommendation, though, is that you don't struggle too long with people who aren't interested in proclaiming Jah, accepting Jesus, and treating others the way they want to be treated. So if you find hostile antagonism or them condemning other people right away, then probably their mindset is not one that's going to allow you to cultivate love together with them and have a certainty of understanding. It doesn't mean everything they say or believe is incorrect. It's just that the way they go about presenting it and the extent to which they focus on it over and against the secret of God concerning Christ, that he came as a man to give his life as the last Adam, to open up the way for us to have life and a relationship with God through him. Those are the kinds of things we should help people appreciate. That and facts from history that we can use to show that the events described in the Bible really did take place and can be relied upon. So, few things to share with you all today. I apologize for the earlier video where we didn't get the sound, but it looks like we got things moving along okay. So, I'll go ahead and post today's text. We'll get that up online, put it on Twitter and Facebook, and then I've got various things I'm going to be doing today, but I will be back this afternoon and finalizing again, getting the Great Message number 3 up on the channel. And then this Saturday, we're going to have CW Jah Talk. We're going to primarily discuss the Golden Rule and related ethical principles, but I think that opens it up to a wide variety of subjects. So I'm looking forward to your participation. Thank you for joining me every morning. It's a great way to start our day. And remember too, in the letter to Trajan by Pliny the Younger, he writes, I didn't set this up because of what I read there, but I did it because of the time zones around the earth. That's why we meet, at least where I am, before dawn. But the early Christians did the same thing. They met before dawn, they shared a meal, and they committed to each other not to do various wrongs. So this is what we're essentially doing. We're coming together, we're giving praise to Jah, honoring the Christ, and we're committing to each other to do good to each other, because that's what we want done to us. So thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will be back tomorrow with another day text.